Hello and welcome to another episode of Four Tims and a Podcast. You join us after an absolutely ridiculous display by Celtic at Dundee Park. We lost there for the first time in about 40 years. We were beaten 2-0 by Stephen Pressley's Dundee. We're just going to get back right into it. I'll start with you, Andy. How do you sum that up?
Abysmal. It was a hard push to find many worse performances, and I mean there've been quite a few this year, but absolutely dreadful. I think nobody gets past marks. Nobody comes out with any sort of credibility. To be honest, I think it's probably a hard job picking who was the worst player in the park. And again, I would love to say I was surprised, but I don't even know where to start. To be honest, Tony, I think that listen, performances have been poor. We've obviously scored late on to beat Motherwell, sort of drawn with Hibs, beat off Braga. We've been poor in Europe across the board. Obviously, sort of scraped by Kelly, so it's been coming probably to sort of lose domestically and lose in that fashion. And it's just the performance is probably symptomatic of a lot of the problems that the clubs get going on now. And again, like even at no point, usually you've sort of when you go 1-0 down, we've all been there before watching Celtic domestically against the majority of the teams. You go 1-0 down and you're not really hitting panic stations because you think there's enough quality in the pitch, or you think there's enough quality in the bench, or you think that the penny will drop at some point and will click into gear. But I never felt that at any point today. I didn't feel that we were carrying a threat. I can't really think of their keeper really being tested. Obviously, I think the closest we probably came was Hitachi's shot, which comes off the boy's arse, I think, and there was a VAR check for about 1.5 seconds to see whether or not it was a penalty, but I think that's probably the closest we came. But even that in itself was it just sort of forced him. It didn't really come off of us cutting them open. I thought, I mean, there's no even point in singling anybody out. Don't get me wrong. Like I think the talk before the game and everything else has been that Scales has been Player of the Year, and I think it just totally showed that up for the nonsense that it fucking is. Winning a couple of headers does not merit Player of the Year, but again, no just to bash him, as bad as he was, everybody else was fucking terrible, whether it be Ralston, whether it be Yang, Taneki, Tierney, and actual whoever it might be, dreadful across the board. I don't see it. I don't see how between now and in January that squad of players are going to go twice a week, 3 times in across a week and a half and constantly win games. I really don't see it. We've not got the goals in us. We've not got the creativity in us. Like even Taneki's just very, very predictable. Had a wee sort of flash at the start when he came in, and I thought he looked good as well, but it just very, very predictable and stagnant. Like Yang had no business starting that game. He has no business being at the club at this point. Like a few players, like they were already away and the heats are gone. And I think that performance showed you that he just no business being in the pitch, no business being in the squad. To be totally honest with you, I think it really should just be at this point players who are committed to being here and want to be in here play. But I understand the predicament. Because when you look at the subs that were made, they're again fucking dreadful. Again, turning to James Forrest to try and win games of football. Johnny Kenny, it's just not good enough. But Dundee turned it into a bit of a fight. They dominated his set pieces. They done that physical side of the game so much better than we did. And it's been said on here for long enough. I know you've spoke about it a million and one times, Tony, talking about having that sort of Wanyama profile midfielder to be more physical in that side of the game. And I think you see it when teams like that really get in our face. When they leave the boot in, when they hang balls at the back post, when they turn it into a physical fight, we just don't have an answer for it. And that coupled with the fact that we couldn't break down a pub team at the minute, it's just a toxic combination, and that's what you've seen. That's the outcome of it. I really don't know. It worries me because I didn't see anything in that game, and obviously you've got Europe to go, which we're not going to do anything in it anyway. The team's a fucking mess. The squad's a mess. and you're sitting worried about playing a fucking team like Sturm Graz and no winning the game. But that's where we're at, and obviously you've got a huge game next weekend against Hearts, and before you know it, you're into cup semi-finals and Europa rolling again. And as I say, like, it is so strange because we were sat last season talking about how good the starting 11 was and how we felt had sufficient depth and we weren't worried. And in a game like this, when you go one down, you knew that you still had the quality on the park to change it, because something could fall right, or you had players like Kuhn who could just spark a game into life, or players like McGregor and Hattati and that were really on song, and they could do that. Or else you knew if that wasn't happening, you had a really strong bench. And now it seems a million miles away from that. I don't see where our goals are going to come from. Like, again, I like Nacho. I think he's got qualities, but he's gets no played a lot of football in his last couple of seasons. That shows. And he's also not been a prolific goal scorer for a long, long time. So it's not going to all fall on his shoulders. But the performance was a disgrace. Like, Stephen Pressley's Dundee beating you and beating you comfortably. It's not as if you could say they get away with it. They didn't at all. They deserved to win the game. They were the better team. Stats, possession, whatever way you want to dress it up, but they deserved to win that game today. And they were the only team that were up for the fight, and that showed. But I don't think there's any positives I could take, Tony, and I think it's really telling of where not just the squad, not just the team, but the entire club is at the now. It all falls back to the same people. They've put us into this mess, and we'll obviously get into all that after this and what people think of the manager and everything else. But whatever way you look at it, we're inadequately prepared. We've got players who were promised one thing, promised they could go, and then effectively held against their will at this point. And good luck to fucking anybody getting him up for a game. I said it to you earlier. Pep Guardiola would struggle to get a tune out this team. The new, and it's worrying for the next few weeks, because there is some huge games there, Tony. And as I say, I don't think I've seen a single positive or a single pass mark for any of the players on that pitch today.
We will touch on the manager, and he deserves a lot of criticism as well. I know people see us as we're kind of quite lenient towards Rodgers, but we will touch on him. I promise that, and we'll speak about that soon. Dan, it's been a pretty awful season so far, if I'm honest. Being 8 points ahead of Rangers doesn't really tell the full story. I know a lot of people see that as a kind of victory, but some of the performances have been disastrous, and we can't seem to score many goals. It's been shite, hasn't it?
That's truly the only word you can really describe it with, Tony. It's been pathetic. The spark of this team has completely been taken out. It's been a sort of year-long process since the turn of the year in 2025. It's been a sort of really quite rapid decline in the team. Like, with the team that was so close to beating all the goals records last year, and it was fast flowing and exciting, it's just been decimated. And I think that's now 6 of the last 11 we've not scored in at all. And somebody was telling me, I think it's 15 of the last 20 halves of football we've played, we've not scored as well. There's nothing about this team. It's completely lacking any character. Like, I know, like, the league game before this, we dropped points with Hibs. And we came on and you could actually say, you know what, the first half and most of the second half, we did pretty much dominate, created plenty. But today was pathetic. Like, after the international break, I think the first 4 or 5 games we had coming up, like, this was the easiest one in a lot. We've got tougher games coming up, and we just turned up today, and it's as if I expected. We'll turn up, Dundee or bottom of the league, and you know what, we're bound to just have too much quality for them. The team just don't seem to have a clue what they're doing, and it's all the way through the team. There's nobody in that team that's playing well at the moment. Andy touched on even Taneke, like, he's been found out already. He just does the same thing hour and hour again. And, like, us included, we were on here after the Partick Thistle game and Belgrade and that, saying, oh, he looks like he's really going to get you off your seat and he's going to be one that's going to excite the fans. Well, I think he's been found out already, and it hurts me to say that. I know people were hitting the board had pulled it off at the last minute, but I'm already getting worried about how predictable his play is and how quickly teams are going to suss him out. We concede a poor goal. As Andy said, people, the second Liam Scales makes one tackle, people just go on as if he's about prime Maldini, and he's just an absolutely pathetic defender. And you know what, he's beside one now in Carter because he's just as bad. Like, the two of them have been pathetic this season, and it's because we keep fucking 95% of the ball and try and bore teams to death that we don't concede so many. But you saw the day when teams have a go, I think it was 2 passes and they were through, and Scales was putting his arse and Carter Vickers put the ball in the net. It was a calamity for the day too, and it just leads me to ask, where the hell is Jemai Simpson-Pusey, Dane Murray, even Austin Trusty's been back in training as well. How bad must they three be if they can't get any of these two at the team now? Anthony Ralston, for some fucking peculiar reason from Rodgers, has been straight back in despite Colby Donovan been playing well in the first few opportunities he got. Ralston's just, that one he blazed out of the bar in the first half, just sort of summed his Celtic career up. It shows a wee bit of promise. I think there's a half chance, and then he does something like that and skies it, and he realises he shouldn't be at the club. And even Tierney, who missed an absolute sitter in the first half, he should have really brought his level. It was quite pathetic, not even hit the target. I think the way he drags it wide of that post as well is really poor. Like, even if he hits the other side net, he can at least say he's gone near post, but it was really pathetic to not even hit the target. And the midfield's been an issue all sort of summer and then into the season. Like, and it seems set on this wee triangle of McGregor, Negren and Hatate, and the three of them have been probably 4 out of 10s this season, maybe 5 out of 10 from the ground because he's actually scored a few goals. But the three of them, I don't know why any of them's in the team. Like that one at Tierney missed it, he did play a good ball through him, but after that he's sort of missing. I know Andy says he had that chance that get blocked, but apart from that, these guys should be grabbing the game by the horn and getting as well, especially McGregor. Like, he's your captain, and I know people are desperate for him to get dropped, but the way Celtic is, like, for Rodgers to sort of just drop his captain and leave him on the bench or out the team altogether, then I think that could also cause issues. And look, there's no issues at the moment. And the forward line, as I say, Tuneki, I think he's probably been found out already. Yang doesn't want to be there, shouldn't be there, but was straight in at right wing the day in my head I was out. Then Ian Atchell has been a sort of bright light since he came in. He was I think people with how well he's done, people were almost forgetting that he was a free transfer, that his club couldn't even be asked negotiating with us to try and get some sort of fee for him. And I actually thought at half time Rodgers is going to go to a sort of 3-5-2 and put Kenny and Iheanacho up top together, but he fucking moved Iheanacho out right, and I just don't get it. Like, I know we're going to come on to the manager, but his inability to change games now is right up there with what's costing us. Like, I think he might have checked out. I think he probably is too good for this league, but I think there's something missing with Rodgers. And as you say, we're massive fans of him, and we'll probably be the last podcast to actually call for him to go. But I think maybe it's just a sort of an effect of how scunnered everybody is with how the windows went, and he knows his contract's up. The players know his contract's up in 6 months, and he's obviously after the game as well talking shite about them. And I says to you in a group chat, I think it's a risky game because you're 3 months away from your transfer window, and the players know that they're probably no good enough. The fans are telling them they're no good enough, and then the manager is, and you've got an incompetent board. So it's a pretty toxic set of ingredients there that you're putting all in together. But I can't really disagree with what Andy says. I thought we were really piss poor, and even when we got that penalty around the 70th minute that get overturned, like, I didn't even have that spark thinking, oh, here we go, we're going to score this and then go up and get another 2. Like, it just, I know it's like 2016 since we last came back for a 2-goal deficit, but even if we'd have scored the 46th minute, I still wouldn't have fancied us to go in and win the game. And as I say, I'll just to sum up again, Tony, I think coming back for this international break, this was probably the easiest game we're going to have in the next 4 or 5. So I think we could be in for a wee bit of a stormy few weeks.
Well, I agree with what you and Andy have says. Danny, me and you are the two people in the podcast that see Hearts as a genuine title contender. Andy and Darren have shot us down. However, listen to them. They don't think we're going to win another game this season, by how negative they've been. We're 5 points behind Hearts after today's disastrous result. Looking at our squad, looking at our manager, looking at the whole club and the kind of atmosphere around it, Hearts are a genuine challenger, aren't they?
Absolutely, and anybody that doesn't think so should start to believe it sooner rather than later, because Hearts aren't going to go anywhere unless we put them somewhere next week, which nobody, I don't think anybody in this podcast is going to turn around and say they're confident Celtic would do next Sunday. Hearts keep winning, whether they're the best team in the league or whether they're not, they keep winning. They keep beating the teams that are in front of them. These are the teams that Celtic aren't beaten at the minute. So, Hearts are definitely a challenger. They're playing well, their confidence is up, and they'll fancy themselves big time next Sunday. There's no doubt about that. On the day's game, I had the very unfortunate
thing on message I put in the WhatsApp, no the WhatsApp, the message I put in the group chat 2 minutes, about 30 seconds before Dundee's second goal, where I said I don't think Celtic have been that bad, but my biggest worry was I didn't think that we'd get any better, and 30 seconds later it was 2-0, so actually it could have got worse, but it definitely didn't get any better. Not really going to touch on the game because the boys have kind of went through it already, Tony, but the goals are just so poor. Like the first goal, I don't know if there'd been a corner before that or a cross, but there was definitely a ball came into our box and we were just so poor at defending it and we got away with it. And they've not even had to work hard to score. Like, you look at the way we try and score goals, they look desperate. Like, we try to walk the ball into the net like it's this fucking, like, people say scoring goals is the hardest thing to do in Fitbury, but we make it 10 times as hard. Dundee just cross into the box, boy runs off his man, header, goal. Second goal, Taneke, who I think is the most indirect, direct winger I've ever seen in my life. He's got all the attributes just to take the ball at his feet and go around somebody, and he's always does, like, he's so slow when he's obviously got a bit of pace, he's got great skill, he can carry the ball. I don't know why he just doesn't want to get fucking on with it. But I don't think he's been fun out. I wouldn't go that far. I still think there's a player there. In fact, I think there's a very good player there. But again, he could be getting dragged down by the ones that are there. And Kiki's the ball away for the second goal. And then before you know it, it's something Dan said 2 passes later. Scales just gets the hole took at him. I mean, that's embarrassing. If Yang or, well, fuck if Yang would have done anything positive. But like, imagine fucking Maeda or like Jota did that to one of their defenders. We'd be playing replays of that all week. So, and then Carter Vickers just wrong place, wrong time. But unlike Dan, I need to disagree. I thought if we'd have scored, we would have come back on, because I thought Dundee played well the day, but I think the story of their season is it's kind of what can go wrong will go wrong. So I did think if we could get one back, we would go on and win. But there your man comes out in the box, his horns up like a lollipop woman, ball hits him, ref gives a penalty, everybody thinks here we go, and then the replay shot hits him in the face. Like, that's just, it's no real day, but we didn't do enough to get back into the game. I know that was that one that felt Ian actually, his touch was poor. But, you know, we did say this, there's going to be days like this. We said it at the end of the transfer window. There's going to be days like this. I thought the international break came at the wrong time, because you just get that last minute winner against Motherwell. There was a bit of good feeling about the club, and you think, right, let's just go to the next game, but then you've got to wait 2 weeks, and then Maeda, who scored the winner in that game's injured, and you're having to rely on Yang again, and just, it's just pish. And the team weren't very inspiring, and they don't inspire you at all. And so, Tony, I don't know what you made of the game, but I think you're in agreeing with me that if this keeps going on like this and Hearts they have a bit of a cushion on us, it's only got to be so long before everybody recognises them as a title challenger.
Yeah, I mean, I've got quite a lot of thoughts regarding everything over the last kind of couple of days, from the protest action to the manager, to the players, to the boardroom. The way I see it, I think we're a very poor football team. The likes of Liam Scales, we've been saying for ages, isn't good enough. Anthony Ralston isn't good enough. Yang isn't good enough. Now, I'm not going to sit and bash these guys, because they're trying their best. I don't think they're non-triers. They're just poor. I think that falls squarely in Brendan Rodgers. I don't know how Brendan Rodgers can still pick Liam Scales. I says last year, we played Rangers at Ibrox and drew 1-1, and Scales was abysmal, and I says he can never play a big game again for us, and I don't think he's been dropped out of a game since. He's not a good player. So that's on Brendan Rodgers. He's continually playing somebody who's not good enough. To drop Colby Donovan out for Ralston doesn't make any sense. There's no logic in that for me. That's on Brendan Rodgers. To be playing the same midfield that is continually failing is on Brendan Rodgers. Playing Yang, who doesn't want to be there, is on Brendan Rodgers. I would have started Forrest or Balak-Wisha. I would have tried something different. Definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. I don't think Brendan Rodgers is insane. I think he's a very smart man. But at the moment, he is underperforming massively. I think the only thing that's really getting him out of jail is a lot of the fans don't think Hearts are a genuine challenger. The board are a mess, and Rangers are the biggest mess of all at the minute. I'm not saying it should be sacked, and I think this board have obviously caused 99% of the damage to this club with their ridiculous attempts to put in place some kind of transfer strategy that did not work, and then the kind of failings and the selling off our best talent and not replacing them, or replacing them with players that are nowhere to be seen. Inamura, Shin, Simpson, Pusey. I mean, just player after player who's having no impact whatsoever. Sriracha, I don't know whether he is. I'm assuming he's maybe injured, or maybe he's just not getting on at the minute. Tierney, and this is another thing. People say, well, the fans wanted Tierney back. Right. but that shouldn't be your transfer strategy just because fans wanted somebody back. Somebody should maybe have done a better look into whether Tierney's going to be good or not, and he still might be. I don't think he's been awful, but I just don't think he's been great. So for me, I just think the club's a total mess. I see Hearts as a real genuine challenger. I think they'll beat us at Tynecastle. I don't really mind saying that. I think we're weak. I think this passing it out for the back, I think if we go to Tynecastle, I mean, Sturm Graz, Europe's done for me. Totally done. Forget it. No, I'm not interested in Sturm Graz. Whatever else we're playing, just whatever happens there will take care of itself. That'll be another fucking half-empty game with 300 million people looking for tickets. So against Hearts, I think if we're passing it about for Schmeichel to Vickers, to Scales, to Ralston, back to Schmeichel, I think Hearts will be delighted with that. I think they'll press us to death. You'll see countless balls going out of play like you did today. Scales just putting the ball out of play. Guy can't pass, but he's probably the person that has the possession most for us. Again, the manager's got to sort that out. So I just think there's so many things wrong at the minute. Just so many different things. Just to go back to the collective, the idea to boycott merchandise, I fully support and endorse. I actually think they should have went further and should have went for a full boycott of the Europa League games. If this board aren't going to put the money in and invest in a team that can actually compete in the Europa League, then I don't see why the fans should bother their arse to turn up to watch it. In terms of domestic games, I don't think we should boycott them. I'm happy for us to still support the team there. You still want to try and win the league, as much as I think that's a major doubt at the minute. In terms of the protest today, I think the game was disrupted for 3 minutes and some fans were devastated. I seen it on Facebook groups. People really annoyed at this protest. And I thought, right, okay, I get people might not like the idea of it. But that game was disrupted for 3 minutes. It had no impact on the result. The manager told you it had no impact on the result. But yet, this board cost us 30 odd million with our poor recruitment, and people can't seem to get as angry at them. I find that baffling. I find some of the comments for fans on social media to be moronic, and I don't really care about saying that either. Some of the people just seem just so angry at fans that want change, and it's fuck off, get your season ticket back. I've spoken about this before, and then they just make stuff up. They just make stuff up. Oh, this Green Brigade. This collective is not the Green Brigade. It's a group of 400 odd signatories who want change at the club and who are justified to want change at the club, who can articulate why they want change. But again, it's just people going, this is the Green Brigade and all this absolute fucking nonsense. And I think, obviously, I said it before, you're trying to get people on side. But for me, if your first go-to for people who don't want to buy merchandise is to tell them to fuck off, well, right back at you as far as I'm concerned. There's also another argument being made, which I would like to talk about and dismiss immediately. That if the boycotts of merchandise continue, the staff might lose their job. I'm assuming that's referring to people talking about that, referring to staff in the superstore. If the Celtic board take the action to make people in the superstore redundant while having £77 million in cash reserves, then the protests should be ramped up tenfold and these people should be removed ASAP and there should be further action. If you think that it's the fault of the fan who doesn't want to give these people their money if someone gets sacked, and I'm afraid you are a moron if that's your kind of belief. If I don't want to give Celtic my money because I'm disgusted at the board and somebody loses their job because they don't want to take any money out of their own pay packets, they just want to sack people who are on close to minimum wage, that is on the board. If the company I work with started pissing off customers and the customers then withdrew their support and no longer did business with us and I was made redundant, I would not be annoyed at the customers. I'd be fucked off at the board and I'd want them removed for their actions. So I just want to clear that up. I find that actually quite a despicable thing to say, that fans who aren't spending money in the superstores could somehow be responsible for staff losing their job. I think it's quite clear nobody wants normal staff at the club to lose their job. It's just the absolute incompetence at the top I want to see made redundant, and I want to see them made redundant the more, but unfortunately that's not going to happen. So yeah, just to clarify, just to kind of wrap all that up, the team's shite, the manager's looking shite, the board are totally shite, some of the fans are making moronic comments, and I'm just not very optimistic. I don't really know where to take it from here. I'm not the best host. It's difficult to rant and then end your own rant. Dan, I'll come back to you. Where do we go from here, I guess, is the question next. I mean, the protests are going to continue. There's nobody coming in that's going to make a difference to this squad. And then you've got Sturm Graz on Thursday. As much as I'm no arsed about it, we still need to play that game. Do you rest players for Tynecastle?
I would, Tony. I'm like you. I'm ready to Europa League already. At one point after 6, it's hard to get excited for now. if we go 8 behind, they become a bit more credible, of course. But yeah, I think you're dead right about the potentially resting players. I think Newcastle's a bigger game. Even if you want to progress in Europa, you've still got 5 games after that. It'll probably take about 11, 12 points to then get into the top 24. But for me, we've got to get it right domestically. That's like, as much as Europe is where we're striving. Like, this season's slightly different just because of the mess we're in. And if you would have given me the chance to only win one out of 2 games this week, it would definitely be hard. I think that if you go out and then lose somebody important, as I say, I don't think there's many playing well at the moment, but if you were to, I don't know, lose Nacho or lose Tierney for a good few weeks or months, like you've seen the impact that Alistair Johnson been out the team's had, that we're back persistent with Alston. I don't know what you're talking about.
Danny, I'll come back to you. I just think for me, like, Europe's done. Like, it's incredible in the space of a year we've went for slapping Leipzig about, who are a top German outfit. Like, we really, really set about them, and it was great. And since then, we've been decimated to the fact the fans are at each other's throat. There's so much disarray. The manager's calling the players shite. I mean, when he says you're giving me a Honda Civic and asking me to drive like a Ferrari, that's him saying these players are not good enough. Now, for me, I agree. I think it's an insult to Honda Civics, to be totally honest. The players aren't good enough. Like, there's no point lying about it. Like, we've named them, and even the players perceived as good are massively underperforming. But somebody came into my work the morning and said to me, "Fuck's sake, big man, you're hopeless." I'd be going, Jesus. You'd probably be right, but I'd be going, Jesus, that's fucking. I'm fairly demotivated. So, do you think the comments were ill-advised?
Aye and no. I mean, I don't know why he's talking about Honda Civics and all that. Like, just I thought I read it as a dig at the board for the transfer windows and the lack of planning and the lack of action in the summer, and he's dressed it up as a kind of dig at the players. I think we said at the end of the transfer window that if we're going to win the league this year, if we're going to have a successful season, then Rodgers needs to get the players in a group, united with the fans. It's us v them, it's us against everybody else. And comments like that are not going to help. And it must be demoralising, you know what I mean? But the thing is, bar a few of them, like, there's a few of them that, in my opinion, are lost causes. You could picture most of these players in a successful Celtic team, but no together. No, as if this is a squad. Like, you could, Taneke could have played in many good Celtic teams. Ian Atchell probably as well. McGregor has, Carter Vickers has, players like that. But just fucking, like, as a squad now, it's no good enough. There's not enough quality. There's not enough real quality there. And, McGregor, folk have just got out. He's finished. He's got to go, blah. He's probably, you're looking at replacing him, when you should be signing somebody to phase McGregor out. It's going to get to the point where you're going to have to just take McGregor out and put somebody else in, and you don't know if you're going to make if you're going to have the right replacement, I should say. But I just Rodgers' comments are, to me, I'm still much a big fan of Rodgers. I don't really care anymore if he's here or not, because I think ultimately the board are to blame. But I think with Rodgers, he's got to be doing better with what he's got, even though we all agree he's not got what he needs to be totally successful. But like, when we see displays like today, and we did warn that we stopped starting this and that, but you want to see the team play with a bit of purpose. Like, at 2-0, they had it was a 5-minute spell where they were a wee bit where they just waited for it. We had a couple of chances, that are half chances, but a couple of corners and that. But after Dundee seen that wee wave out, it was just like, right, okay, like, here we go, and then we knock the ball about again. Like, the passing about the back is it's so fucking boring to watch, and it's actually demoralising to watch when you think your team are going to go for it, and yet you just see Scales and McGregor, and the two of them they get in each other's way. How many times this season have you seen Scales and McGregor actually bang into each other? And they still pass the ball to each other. There's like 2 or 3 yards between them, and they still rattle the ball off each other. And it's boring to watch. It doesn't inspire you. You were talking about Leipzig last year. I mean, I'm just going to depress myself even further, but imagine watching us in Europe last year and thinking to yourself, this is as good as it gets. Instead of thinking, wow, let's fucking roll the dice again. Let's build on this successful squad that are going to Bayern Munich in our 30 seconds away for extra time where anything can fucking happen. Instead of thinking, oh, do you know what, that's as good as it gets, have a wee bit of ambition and go, imagine we bought 3 really good players to complement this squad in the areas that are needing them. Like, the manager, the team are all united. I mean, you don't play like that if the team spirit's not great. The manager doesn't get to tune out the players like that if they're not all playing for him. I mean, we were better than the sum of all our parts last year in Europe. That's a very good sign for the manager. But this year it looks like, nobody's really playing well. Folk are top of scales player of the year. Like, what fucking game are they watching? In terms of, like, Europe's done until Celtic win a couple of games and start to convince the fans that it's worthwhile again. And I hate saying that about Europe, because Europe's where you want to play well. People have been saying for years, oh, we're a Europa League team, let's go win the Europa League. Like, folk need to get real. The Europa League's done after 2 games because we got a very good point away in Belgrade. We should have won that game, but we got a good point. You need to turn that into a good point by going and winning your home games. Then we lose a game against a very poor Braga team. There was keeper Celtic first goal. There was a bit of controversy. I think if Iheanacho's goal would have stood, we would have went on and won. But then, who knows? We might have just passed the ball out and took another draw. So, Europe's a bit of a sideshow. Hearts is a bigger game. I'd still expect us to beat a team like Sturm Graz at home, but who knows? You'd like to see something about the team, that they're playing for a bit of pride. You'd like to see something about them, but again, it's like, I don't know. Try not to get my hopes up. I'll not see the game because I've got a work thing down south next week. For the first time in a long time, I'm pretty glad because I don't know if I'd be able to sit through on 90 minutes like the day. But the squad's no good enough. Rodgers is playing a dangerous game if he wants to get a siege mentality on the go. A lot of fans have never really accepted Rodgers coming back, and so they didn't need much to turn on him. But a lot of other fans are turning on him. And to me, it's all the board's fault. The board will be enjoying this. Because the board can turn around and, they'll no do it now. But if Hearts were to beat us next week and then we were to lose the semi-final, the board might make a decision. I'd be very surprised if they were to, but you never know. But then they could turn around and say, well, we've gave you what you want. So you need to be careful. The board really should be who the focus is on. This is where the focus should be. Rodgers should be doing better with what he's got, but it would upset me if folks started going after Rodgers rather than the board.
Well, it's too late. And look, I think Rodgers deserves criticism. I think that the right thing for Brendan to do would have been to walk away in the summer and say, look, I promised 3 years. I can't work with these people because they're fucking idiots. Like, see if he says that, then after we remove the board, you just sanction the statue. That would have been my hope for Rodgers. If I'm the Celtic board, now this is never going to happen, I'm phoning Big Ange and saying, look, we'll give you whatever you want. We'll sack Rodgers tomorrow. Would you come back? Because then fans would really go on side. Obviously, there's some fans that think, I seen a comment today that Ange left us in the lurch, even though he left us with a treble and a squad that was in a good place. But I think Rodgers coming back, look, people can never get away for the fact he left the one true faith. What?
If Ange comes in, all the protests against the board would need to end. You can't keep them up if Ange comes back, because the fans are just accepting that a third manager returning. There's no forward thinking. There's no change of direction. They're just checking the phone book again. Ange, I love Ange to bits, and I'm gutted what happened to him because he didn't deserve that, but he should never have went to Forest in the first place. But if he comes back, it's an endorsement, and the fans accept it. It's an endorsement of the board and their kind of plan of just, well, it worked a couple of years ago, let's see if it works again.
I'm not saying that's what I would do, just to clarify. I'm saying if I'm the board. But what you need to remember, as much as you're saying that's an endorsement of the board, a lot of people do endorse the board because this board beat Rangers. And that's all some people care about. It's about beating Rangers. We silly Rangers, new coach, Sevco, new club, totally useless, but they're the benchmark for a lot of your fans. You need to remember that. So as much as you're saying fans come back, it's an endorsement of the board, there's people endorsing the board just now. A lot of people see Brendan as the main issue. And I don't think that's the case. As I say, I think he's totally underperforming. I think if the board done that, they would probably get buy-in for quite a few fans. Not for me. Look, I don't want Ange to ever come back now. I think that was a great period of time, but it's kind of come and gone. We need to be forward-thinking for sure. But I think when it comes to Brendan Rodgers, some fans have never accepted him. As I say, I was just about to say, he left the one true faith. He walked out in Celtic and, all this stuff. Like, he left because basically he mentioned before about the club briefing against him and the transfer activity. I think he was justified to leave. And I don't really hold that against him. I think he should leave again. I think he should walk out. And I think he should throw the board under the bus. I think the board have a perfect manager in place. And that's probably why they won't sack him. Because a lot of fans, regardless what he does, he's a rat, he's this, he's that, right? A lot of people just can't take to him, never will, irrespective, and can't wait to have a go at him. And as I says, I think he's making a cunt of it. I think it's been dreadful so far, and he should have done better this season. So I just think it's, for me, the focus should be purely on the board and, of course, Dermot Desmond, who is just not a good person to have at Celtic. I don't care what anybody says. That guy is causing so much harm to us. He's obviously got stooges in place in terms of Mackay and Nicholson, who are essentially getting paid huge sums of money to take bullets for him. Do I blame them for doing it? No, really. No, I can understand the logic behind it, but you need to be prepared for the protesting against you that comes with it. I just don't know where we go. I remember in Roger's third season the last time, there was a real dodgy patch and we lost a right few games, and then something changed and we went and battered St Johnstone 6-0, and then went on a very good run, and everything seemed good. We won the League Cup, etc. I think Brendan needs to have a good think about about what he's going to do here. I think if he can go to Tynecastle and win, which I don't think he will, I just don't see it, not with this squad. But if he can, then that really gets everybody maybe a bit more united and stuff like that. But if I'm the board and I'm looking at it from a non-selfish point of view, I'm sacrificing somebody. I'm having Nicholson resign or Mackay resign, or fucking please God, the chairman finally fucks off. Give the fans something. No, that, see if Lawwell left, that would give the fans a boost. I don't care what anybody says. That would give the fan base a boost, because that would be one distraction out the way. So that's something they could do off the field. I know people kind of slag me for this whole sort of football's all about moments on and off the park, but I think that would be a moment if Lawwell left and you go, wow, that's a great start. We've got rid of somebody that a lot of fans sees the boogeyman and have real kind of paranoia about, whether it's justified or not. We can't confirm. But so for me, that would be that's what I would do them on. I'd just say, actually, I wouldn't even let him resign. I'd say Peter Lawwell's been sacked. That's what I would do, sacked as chairman. And I think that would give the fans a big boost. So, again, fanciful stuff. Because we don't sack anybody. The only person we've ever really sacked is Don Mackay. He's the only person I can remember getting sacked. But him and Tony Mobley, everybody else gets to just kind of leave on their own terms or whatever. So, no, I just think we're in a right mess, and it's a self-inflicted one by the board. Like, in January this year, when Kyogo was leaving, the board said, right, we're going again, we're going to go and get you the striker you want. Brendan, you want Kiss-Garden, but he's going to cost 12 million. Fuck it, we're going to go for it, because we've got the money to do it, and we've got the support of the fans to spend this money. They're going to keep buying the merchandise and keep ploughing money in. We'll get this money back in no time. But there doesn't seem to be any risk reward. But what they don't realise is they're taking so many big risks and they're backfiring. By not investing, we are risking and we're failing. These risks are not paying off, hence not getting into Champions League, not looking good enough to really succeed domestically or in the Europa League. So I think the board have just made such an ass of things and it's filtering down. So I think you need the holy trinity of the board, the fans, and the manager all united, or not even united. You just need the board just not to be in the way. Don't want the board getting in the way. Just back the manager and fucking get out the road. But they're in the road and they're massively annoyed the fans. And now you've got merchandise boycotts. I'm assuming the Sturm Graz game will be the lowest attended game in Europe for a long time. The manager's not performing, the players aren't performing. It's the whole thing. It's just that kind of cracked club crest the way you look at it just now. So it's pretty worrying stuff for me. I mean, at the moment, obviously at the start of the season I says we wouldn't win the league, but I think the team I think will win it's maybe changed. But I just don't think we're going to win the league. I think there's too long between now and January. I don't think there's a team in the league that will be looking at us and going, oh fuck, don't want to play them. I think people will be desperate to get stuck into us. Even Falkirk coming to Celtic Park, they must be looking and going, fuck, we can rattle them. All you need to do is get us to half time, and fuck, we're happy to get to half time without scoring a goal, because it seems to be all we ever do, and then get the fans to kind of turn. So Brendan's going to need to start earning. He has huge wages as well. I think he's the highest paid manager we've ever had, and he's earning fortunes. And I kind of gave him a buy ball for Almaty. He's not getting a buy ball for losing to Stephen Pressley. I mean, and that's the thing. See, when it comes to losing to fucking absolutely ridiculous managers, like Brendan Rodgers is pretty good at it. Barry Ferguson, Stephen Pressley, wee guy for St Johnstone, Phil Clement, like getting tanked to absolute fucking muppets on the space of 10 months. Like, that's piss poor stuff. Dan, I'll come back to you. I think your daughter stop shouting sack the board and Lowell get to fuck. So have you got anything else to add?
Aye, Tony, so my daughter's now on her way to Celtic Park to continue the protest, but she is out the motor now, so aye. No, I think it's quite simple what we need to do, and that's the problem, that this board is so incompetent that they can't do a simple thing. if I was in charge at Celtic now, well, the fact that Rodgers hasn't even been offered a contract the last time he spoke, like, is sort of awful in terms of long-term planning for the club to begin with. But if it was me, I'd offer him a contract if we wanted him to stay. Well, I'm not sure today because I sort of feel like Rodgers is getting framed by a few people at the club that don't like him. So if you were to tell me that it was some big stitch up, I wouldn't be surprised and they'd be quite happy to see him fail. But if they wanted him to stay, he spoke about how happy he is. I'd say, here's a contract. You sign that by the end of the month, or we're going to announce that you're leaving at the end of the season. We're going to hire a sporting director. We're sacking the football doctor and we're getting a sporting director in November 1st. He's going to work with us for the next 2 months. You can work with him as well if you're going to be here. And then come January, we're just going to have 4 or 5 targets that we're going to look to get in the first week of January. And I think that's how simple it would be to sort the sort of mess that we're in. Like, we've spoke as well, like, it's going to be a bumpy ride for the next few months because even a few of the players who have looked all right, like Ian Atchell and Konecki, we've just been speaking about that a few teams got to be away for AFCON, and we're in for a stormy ride. And like, I think most weeks will be fine. Most games at Celtic Park we should be fine as well, but it'll be tricky games like Tynecastle coming up, and there's no fear factor about Celtic at the moment. As we sort of say, every team will fancy coming in, having a go. We're not scoring many, so they'll think, we'll throw a few bodies forward. Like, you look at that Dundee team that beat us today, they got hammered off Aberdeen a fortnight ago. The Motherwell team that probably should have at least took a point against us, they get beat off Falkirk at home. So it's almost as if it's these pure exceptional teams in the league that are taking points off us. Everybody's sort of fancying it at the moment, and I think it is that simple, Tony. I don't know about you, but the fact that we says at the start of the season, in our season preview, how people are going to start saying, "Oh, is Rodgers going to be here?" As you know, for me, that's not really his problem now, because, as I say, last time he says he's not been offered a contract, so Celtic have made clear to him if they want him beyond this year. So it's not as if Celtic that, I think he was doing such a bad job, which a lot of support are. I agree with what's been said. I think a lot of people had it in their drafts, the sort of tweets and Facebook posts they were putting out about him today. A lot of people just don't like him. That's fine. I understand why. But I think we need a bit of clarity around that. So whether that be that you go to Rodgers and you say, look, here's a contract. If you want to sign it, we'll be happy for you to sign it. We'll announce to the club. But if not, whether you're going to announce that you're leaving, or if you want to leave the next international break and just go and garden and leave for 6 months, then fair play and we can go on with the future. But for me, that's probably the closer it gets towards January and beyond, people are just going to, because you're going to have the same things coming up saying, why would you give the Rodgers any money in January? Whereas for the first time in a long time, like, we might seriously need to invest big money in January to ensure that we win the league, or give us the best chance of winning the league. So for me, it'd be that simple, Tony. I'd go to Rodgers and offer him a sort of take it or leave it contract and have that, at least one aspect of the club, sort of clear for the future, whether Rodgers is going to be there next season or not.
I think that should have been done ages ago. I think that should have been done after the Bayern Munich game, and then everybody would have bought into it. It'd have been a real positive lift off the field for the fans, because nobody could have been against it. But at this point, if you offer them a deal and sign it, half the fans will be going after heed. Andy, for me, I think Rodgers' contract situation is probably a big deal at the minute. There's no real clarity. For me, the idea of Michael Nicholson picking who our next manager is fucking terrifying me when you look at the amount of people we bring into the club. It's just people that used to play for us. But it's just, if you've got a Celtic connection, get in here. So, and I would hate to have this board anywhere near picking a new manager. I would rather stick with Brendan, I think, than let them appoint somebody, because I just think they'll get it wrong. And again, the other point people make, can he back a manager if he's leaving? So you just don't sign anybody in January. You don't sign anybody for the future. Like, I think that's a fucking stupid argument.
He just owned, like, just when I was listening to his talk there and about, like, people's feelings towards Rodgers, and I agree with you, some people were never going to accept him, and some people had more time for him, and whatever it might be. However, what I would say is that, see if you are, and you're rightfully so blaming the board here, and you're demanding that they leave, you cannot blame Brendan Rodgers for leaving last time, because who wouldn't? They've done it to me again. They didn't. The board didn't owe any loyalty for him last time, because they gave him fucking nothing. So I can completely understand why he left last time, when people understood that. So that was just when I was listening to you, and I think these are spot on, and there is some people out there, but there is people who I see call the board for everything, and I completely agree with them, but that is hand in hand as to why Brendan Rodgers left. He didn't leave just because it was first opportunity that came up. He left because what the fuck was the point in staying? It's the board of getting no intention of progressing, no intention of fully backing him, and no intention of letting him attempt to let the club realise its potential. And I think, again, everything fucking comes back to the board, Tony. You've said it a million times. If you think there's any single thing wrong, if you think there's a fucking wall in that stadium that needs painted, it's the board's fault, because ultimately they run the show. But when it comes to Rodgers and when it comes to the contract situation and whatever else, this is again symptomatic of a board who are convinced that their strategy's right, but it's fucking so far off the pace. It's miles away because they have no long-term vision. They have no forward planning strategy. It is totally reactive shite, and it's always reactive. Every single thing this fucking club does is reactive, and half the time they don't even do that right. When they go and get Rodgers, it's reactive because there was Rangers directors or whatever getting at the big one to Desmond and they spat the dummy out. And it was reactive. Lennon in the showers, it was reactive. Everything that they do is reactive, and it's going to be the same again because we're going to get to the end of the season. The Rodgers contract situation's not going to be dealt with. We've not got any fucking planning in place for the future because we don't do long-term strategic planning. Hence why we've still no fucking replaced Kyogo. We're going to end up in that position, in that situation where, right, it's reactive. And that's what happens, Tony. They start to go, fuck, is there an ex-player about who's a manager now who we might be all right with? Does MD know MD? That's what happens at the club. That's why it's just riddled with nepotism. That's why if you've at any fucking point got a Celtic connection or wore a Celtic jersey, you've got a fucking job for life. Even if you're shite at one job, they'll put you in another department. It's fucking insanity. And it all comes back to the same people, and I could totally agree with you. If these are the guys, as somebody who's been in a room with them and listened to the fucking drivel out of their mouth and just looked at them, these are not people who I want to be sat and negotiating, trying to get another manager of a level who, the last two managers, one of them has won an FA Cup in England, one of them has won a Europa League, so high calibre managers. These are the people I want sitting in the negotiations trying to convince people to come up here and manage Celtic and take us forward because they are incompetent in every single manner of means. They are the worst possible people to be in this position, and their positions are untenable. And things need to change. And as I say, it all comes back. It's all the same problems. It's all the same issues. And it's, as I say earlier, we're going to be in a reactive position again because we just, for whatever reason, fail to plan any sort of strategy for the future. We fail to think, right, what about next? What happens next? What happens in a year's time? What happens in 2 years' time? What happens in 5 years' time? And it's always, it's just, I really can't for the life of me understand it because these are supposed to be highly intelligent people. These are supposed to be people who are determined to make the club world class in everything that they do or whatever fucking shite it was that they want to come away with. Surely these are things that are discussed, but they're not. And that's quite clear because you see it in everything, whether it's a fucking losing your second choice right back or your first choice striker. We are totally unprepared for whatever it might be. And it's the same when we lose the manager. It's the same when we lose a fucking goalie coach. We are totally unprepared. It's almost as if it always catches us by surprise because we just can't believe it's happened. No matter how many warnings, no matter what, we are totally unprepared for it. And it's chronic. It is totally chronic. And now the only people to blame for the way things are, for the fracture between the support, for people not wanting to turn up for the Europa League, for whatever else, it lies at their door. They are the people to blame for this because the club it goes in the direction that they steer it. But no, I don't know about the Rodgers contract situation because I'm also at the point was to say what would be the point of them staying? But what would be the purpose? Like if it all is that they just want to be a point ahead of Rangers, just come out and say that and fucking gear a job back to Neil Lennon again and just hope for the best because that's where we're at. That's as good as it will get for them because no serious manager's going to come up here and take that job. Why the fuck would they bother? Players are already getting wise to it because you've got other chairmen and other players and other boardrooms taking the absolute piss of their negotiation tactics. So why would anybody bother their arse actually coming here in the first place? Aside for that, you've got agents, everything else doing the exact same thing. They can't be asked to us anymore. What would be the point? What's the point? Just go, give the show back to Neil Lennon, your wee pal, You can fucking appoint him in whatever you like, doing fucking outside tennis bar, and go and just start signing more diddies for more teams around in Scotland and just hope for the best, because that's essentially what they want to do. And I don't know where we go for here, Tony, to be totally honest with you. I think we've been lucky with Rodgers, we get lucky with Ange. We're not going to get lucky again, quite frankly. And no serious manager of a decent calibre is going to take this job, particularly under the current stewardship. Players, but it's going to get harder and harder to sign them because it's fucking well documented. The refusal to move on in the pay structures and everything else, again, what's the fucking point? And players will see that and they'll do that as well. Why would they bother us? What would be the point? And now you've got guys who, great servants, done a lot for the club, scored a lot of goals, ready to move on, and we just don't let them go. Oh, that's exactly how you sell yourself. That's exactly how you position the club to be that stepping stone to the Premier League to players. We'll just fucking hold you against your will and not let you go. Like, it's totally crazy, and there's people who are still defending that, and to the fucking last breath that they take, they will defend these people because they seem to be convinced that it makes them more a Celtic fan. I don't fucking know, but I don't know where we go for here. I don't know who ends up in the job. I think we're headed in a really dangerous direction because they're not going to be a basket case forever. They'll get lucky at some point. Teams like Hearts will start to see cracks and they will try and take advantage of it. And again, we are in that position because we failed to push on. We failed to carry on, really push the boat out and take the club where it can get to. And we just constantly shoot ourselves in the foot, and that's what happens. But if the current board stay, then there's no point in Rodgers staying. So I don't even think you should offer him a contract. The only way that I think it's even worthwhile is if the place is gutted, they are gone, and we take things seriously and we properly allow them to get the team back to where it was last season, where it was turning out Leipzig, where it was taking the game to Bayern Munich, and then pushing on again, because again we're going to need to build to that, and it's continually we build, we get to a certain point and then we just fucking rip it all out and start again, as opposed to continually trying to put the building blocks in place to better ourselves. So I don't know what happens next, but I know what I want to happen next, but I think that's going to be a long-term thing instead.
I think you're right. If it's the same board, what's the point in having Rodgers? It would be kind of counterproductive. I'll wrap it up here, but I think we will do an episode of the kind of Facebook comments, because I had somebody there, because I think the stadium's a shithole, right, and I've admitted that. No warm water, can't be asked putting the signs back up. It's just so dated and tired, needs a lick of paint inside. Just, it's a poor looking stadium. And a guy said to me, "You're hun in disguise." I must admit, they kind of comments make me laugh. Like, I want Celtic to be better. I think they can be even better, and therefore that makes me a hun. Brilliant stuff. No, I think you mentioned there about Neil Lennon coming back. Just to clarify, if Neil Lennon's ever the Celtic manager again, I will set myself on fire. Just to clarify that. So please don't make me do that. I seen he was actually
Hold on, the adverts we get, Tony might get as a box at Cheltenham if Lennon comes back.
I think a lot of people would be tuning in to listen to that, but no, I think I would totally chuck it if he's ever near us again. Oh, the thought of that person ever near Celtic makes me a bit ill. I seen him out defending the genius Desmond and saying something else, praising Peter Lawwell. What a shock! Great manager, ended up at Dunfermline. No, I'll wrap it up. I'll get predictions for Sturm Graz. I'll start. I'll go 0-0. If we don't score, 0-0. Fans of the board to blame other fans for the result. More moronic Facebook posts, and the board not to resign because they don't give a fuck, and it's just a limp on. So there you go. Dan, give us a prediction.
I think we'll get beat. I think we're fucking terrible. You've just been called one in disguise. I think Sturm Graz beat them 2-1 a few weeks ago when we were in Prague, and maybe they'll think we're them in disguise and beat us 2-1 as well. I'll go 2-1 Sturm Graz.
Danny?
1-0 Celtic, Ian Archer.
Andy?
I'll go for a 1 each. I've not got a fucking clue who's going to score the goal, so I don't know where any. It'll be an own goal. There you go. It'll be 1 each, but our goal come for an OG.
Very optimistic, but hey ho, Kevin Muscat knocked back the Huns, and let's be honest, for a lot of the fans, that's the big news of today. Hope you really enjoyed listening. This has been an excellent podcast to record. We've had great fun. Yeah, can't wait for the season to finish. Thanks very much for listening. Hail, hail.